pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let the record show we have all board members here except for Ryan Osmus. And we need an adoption of the amended, right, Dr. Dirksen, amended
Yes, that is correct.
agenda, including the supplemental personnel report.
I make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Tracy. All in favor? Aye. 6-0. And Ryan, since Ryan's not here, did anybody else, I hope we all looked over the bills. Anybody have any questions on the bills? Anybody like to make a motion? Okay, all right. All right, a motion by Tracy and a second by Jamie. All in favor? Aye. 6-0. Okay, we are ready now for our Stuko reports. First from Dodge City High School, Felicity Campfield. Probably the busiest lady in the high school.
Good evening and happy Valentine's Day.
You too.
Yeah, last time I was here, I got to talk to you a little bit about TOC, so I thought I would start off with that. TOC went very well this year, I think. I thought they were all good games, at least the ones Dodge was in. I may not completely understand basketball, but I know I enjoyed the games. Dodge City got third place, and it was just really refreshing this year to have a normal TOC. We had conferences last week, and this year they were this semester they were a lot better of a turnout than the ones we had in the fall. To get more kids to come, we kind of had a system where if students came and they went to their flex or their homeroom teacher, they could get their schedule, and then if they took their schedule to each teacher and got it signed, they would be put in for a drawing to win an Apple Watch or a Starbucks gift card and some other prizes, so that was really cool. In the realm of sports at DCHS, wrestling girls won regionals and Hvac.
Yes.
And bowling is going to Hvac tomorrow, I believe. We also had winter homecoming 2 weeks ago, and the king and queen winners were Manuel Martinez and Amaya Perez. Events we have coming up at the high school are tomorrow during flex time. We will have a Wichita State representative come, and they will talk, a little bit about what it's like at Wichita and some things like that. We also have a healthcare and social services day field trip coming up. On the 16th, we will have a law enforcement day, and that is a field trip as well that students can sign up for. On the 17th is Kansas Workforce One, and they will be sending in somebody to come and talk to the students about what it's like. And as in Stuko, we began our food drive last week, and this year, to give incentive for kids to want to donate, we are splitting it up between our academic halls. So in your flex time hall, whichever flex time raises the most food donations, we'll get to choose between donuts or pizza. So, yeah.
Bribery works.
It does, especially when it's food. I think that is all. Is there anything I can clarify?
Thanks, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, we do not have a report from Comanche Middle School this month. So next up is Evelyn Hernandez from Dodge City Middle School. Maybe? Maybe not. All right, doesn't look like it. Okay.
Looked like Evelyn, sure.
All right, so we have next up recognition of visitors. Persons may present ideas or concerns regarding USD 443 schools. No action will be taken by the board at this meeting. Personalities and behavior of employees are not to be presented during this period, but are to be reported to the employee's immediate supervisor. The president shall determine the amount of time to be spent for citizen participation. If you'd like to address the board, please approach the podium at this time. All right, seeing no one jump up for that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda includes the approval of personnel, including the supplemental personnel report, the approval of minutes for the January 24th Board of Education meeting, and the January 31st Special Board of Education meeting training, the approval of donation from Nebraska Irrigation to Dodge City High School debate team, approval of donation from Dodge City Area Chamber of Commerce to Dodge City High School Heritage Group, approval of Head Start, Early Head Start grant application for Bright Beginnings, approval of preschool aged at-risk program grant application, Bright Beginnings, approval of Bright Beginnings Policy Council minutes for December 14th, 2021, and the approval of the contract with Kennedy McKee for audit services for fiscal year 2021-2022.
That's stretching our fundraising to Nebraska irrigation.
Hey.
What's the tie there?
Well, they're located, there's an office here.
Okay,
There's an office in town, but I
Okay.
don't know the connection.
oh, that's fine. That's great. Thank them.
I make a motion for approval.
Motion by Tammy and a second by Jamie. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0. All right, Dr. Springston, curriculum and instruction.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Dirksen. Beginning in your packet on page 103, you have the follow-up to what was presented at the January 24th meeting. At that time, I mentioned to the board that we did not have the final quotes for the the high school science and social studies materials from McGraw-Hill and Savas. So what you have presented in front of you is a request to approve those items, which you'll see on the first page on page 103, the first four sub-bullets there. You can see the total and the amount. So pending board approval, this will complete all of our 6 through 12 science and social studies resources. We are starting to receive items, whether it be the Vernier lab equipment and or the materials. So everything's scheduled to be here as scheduled prior to the end of the school year. So we'll have training set up as well as materials on hand. So teachers will have that before they depart for the summer. So if I'm open to any questions that you have. If not, I am recommending the board approval for the McGraw-Hill and Savas materials as presented.
Okay, I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second. We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Tracy. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
6-0, thank you. Carrie, if we could hold off on your report for just a minute. Evelyn, if you'd like to come and give your report.
My apologies for being late.
You're fine.
So hello, my name is Evelyn Hernandez, and I am the president for Stuko at DCMS, as you all may know. Today, I won't use much of your time. Throughout this month, we have started to work on some of our activities while including selling the Valentine diagrams for $1, which ended last week on the 9th. And they were delivered today during advisory, and at the end of the day, our second round of Me Too News started today as well with athletes. We brought in the current athletes and talked to them about how to interview and make positive connections. Scholars Bowl has also been going on as well with our cheer, drill, girls wrestling, and boys basketball. February 17th, before school athletes will meet their two new friends, and on February 24th during advisory will be our final meet, and the subject will be about social media. Furthermore, we are doing our DCMS gold cards that started up for our connection survey. Self-regulation lessons are still going on strong in advisory. Every Tuesday, conferences were held at DCMS, and we set a goal to have 100 students turn out. We are also having our PEP assembly on February 24th, and Stuko will be assisting in running the games, and that's all. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Evelyn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I think
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
we appreciate you coming.
Yes, have a good evening.
All right, Carrie, we're ready for you.
Good evening. In front of you, you have some of the marketing materials we put together for recruitment. So I've talked about them a little bit, but I wanted you to see those. We'll be taking them to Fort Hays State tomorrow, where there's a recruitment event. We also have a long form video that's completed. I'll be sending a link out to that next week so you can see that. What we'll do with the short form videos from that, both 30s and 15s, We'll be doing some pre-roll and some marketing, online marketing to places where we're going to visit, and then also some post-marketing. So just letting you know what we're doing with those materials. The other thing, Leadership Dodge, we have a great program planned for the participants. That will be March 10th at the Dodge City High School. There's no school that day, but we have a dynamite program for them, so we're looking forward to that and wanted to let you know that. We will be hosting them for lunch and a program in the afternoon. Then plans are underway for retirement banquet. Mark your date, it's April 21st. So that's what we have going on right now. Any questions? Okay,
Thanks, Carrie.
you bet.
All right, Hammer.
Good evening. I have two requests to bring for you tonight. The first one is for chairs for classroom furniture over at DCMS. It's over the $20,000 mark, so I need your approval to make that purchase for them.
Question on that. I believe the consideration sheet said that we recently purchased other chairs. Is that for that or no? Did I read that wrong?
I'm not aware that we purchased
Okay.
any for them.
Okay. But
They purchased, last year out of their discretionary budget, they purchased desks. And these are chairs, which I assume, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I was out all last week. So this request came to my office and we processed it, but I don't have a lot of detailed information about it.
I assume it's because of increased enrollment at the middle school. Would you?
I don't know that it's, they have on their list to replace furniture. So I wouldn't make that assumption that it's for increased enrollment as much as updating the furniture that's there. That's my assumption.
We divided it into sections, didn't we? We didn't try to
Actually,
replace it.
we're still working on that plan.
yeah.
This is coming out of their discretionary budget.
Okay.
Very good. That helped.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid on the chairs for the middle school.
Okay. We've got a motion by Jeff and a second by Jared. All in favor? Aye. 6-0.
Thank you. The next is for some HVAC equipment at the high school in two different locations, and then over at Miller Elementary. This was all on the capital outlay that we went through as a committee. It's taken us a little while. We had to do some studies. We want to make sure that we get the right tonnage. You know, there's been a change in technology. In some cases, over at the middle school, for example, when we did the library, we've since built around the library. So we needed less tonnage. We were able to save money in that scenario. So we did a study just to make sure we were getting what we needed. And we got the recommendations, and we went and put it out for bid. And this is what we're bringing before you. 3 different areas, 2 different schools. And that's on the capital outlay list to stay current with what we need to get done.
And this is with train. This is train?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Tracy and a second by Jamie. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Hammer. We are zipping right through. Go
Very
ahead,
good.
Dr.
And there's
Dirksen.
no football game tonight.
No, but it is Valentine's, so I think a lot of people want to get home and be with their Valentine. All right. First item that was on my list has been tabled. I received word this morning from the city manager that it is their desire to hold off. As you are aware, there are federal funds that have been released recently for infrastructure, and they do believe that they would qualify for grants that this would fit nicely into that area. They're filling out the reports. They'll have a quick turnaround. They'll know within 60 days. And so it was in our interest to hold off with that. So item 1 was tabled this morning. So actually happy to report that and a possibility for that to work out. And I'll keep you posted on the progress of that item. Next item is our annual extension of administrative and exempt employee terms of employment agreements. We provided a list here and then realized that there were a number that had been left off, and so your green folder has the additional exempt positions that inadvertently were left out. We have that updated now and should be more accurate next year. It's a continual changing document, but this is as accurate as we can be at this time. We have a great team. We have good things going on. I would ask for your approval for the positions presented to you for continuation of their employment.
How many administrative positions do you think we'll have that you know of now? I know it'll change.
That we'll have.
Yeah, administrative, open positions that we'll have going into next year.
Well,
I mean, how would you know?
I think we've taken care of the one retirement that we do know, and
I thought you were going to ask them to raise their hand.
yeah. Well, I don't know what do I have? What do I have? You guys tell me.
I understand.
Yeah, I know of one. I know of one.
I was just curious
Yeah.
if we were looking at any kind of mass replacement or anything.
No.
Good.
No. In fact, that's why I'm grateful to ask you to approve this, because we do have a great team. We have a great culture going on, and I want to keep it that way. So I like the way things are going. So one administrator's calling in to have the other report. I just heard it. Wait, count me out? No.
I'll make a
kidding.
motion to approve.
A second.
Motion by Tracy and a second by Tammy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6-0. Thank you, everyone.
All right. I would like to finish up with the Superintendent Roundup, and actually would like to start with the front cover. I don't know how many of you have yours, but Deborah Longton puts our agenda together. She does an outstanding job, and I want you to also know that her hard drive crashed this month. So she had to reposition all of her files in her new hard drive, and she had to keep this up. And she has a heart of gold and the patience that go with it. And anyway, a young lady that reports to us every month for the high school Stuko is seen in the first picture because that's the TOC committee, and Felicity is the third from the right, if you will. And then Miss Kansas performed her specialty is percussion drums, and she was at Sunnyside Elementary and performed for them and did an outstanding job. And then during the tournament, we had cheerleaders and basketball players reading to our youngsters across the district. And just really gives you a glimpse of what's going on in the district. And I appreciate Deborah. She puts that together on her own, and I think does an outstanding job. COVID report, actually was going to have Mr. Lampy come up because he's done such a great job with that. But he told me that really the COVID report is simple. If you can hold up one finger on both hands, we have one student and one staff member that's positive.
That's great.
1 and 1. We should celebrate that. That's amazing. Last week, for most of the week, we were 3 and 3. And so it appears right now there's been a great turn for the better. I would also add that we only know of one student that's in quarantine in the entire district right now. So things are really looking much brighter on that end. So let's hope that it stays that way. There does seem to be a trend nationwide that way. So I don't speak to know the future, but I'm telling you right now where we're at is in a good spot. So I need to make you aware of this, and I'm just talking openly about it. There's some excitement growing in the community about the possibility of some of these funds, these federal funds I was talking about, for a daycare, a child care program going on in our community. Part of the challenge with that is there would be a 25% match that would go with the idea of building something or creating a program. Bright Beginnings has looked at it with some interest. Our school district should look at it with some interest because I know we have need for child care and daycare. The preliminary concepts have included like 2 facilities idea, one for the north side of town, one for the south side of town, because we feel like we need to be equitable across our community. Part of that, the city, the school district, and the county are involved in this right now. I think the community college is looking at a different angle because they qualify for Sparks funding too, another round of Sparks, is my understanding. So they may not be a partner in this at this time. I definitely spoke up that we would be interested in looking at the possibilities. I think it would fit nicely. Part of our match could be land for our offering. We have a sizable amount of ground west of Beeson Elementary that could serve as a facility. We also have ground right around Sunnyside, which the Sunnyside portion, which is just south of the playground area and west of the parking lot, it'd be a nice match because our Head Start facility is already right there with 4 classrooms. So nothing is even in the concept phase at this point, but we're starting to develop some ideas. I'll keep you posted along the way. It may end up that we can't make a commitment to it, but I think as leaders of public education, we need to look at how childcare and daycare can be a part of what we do as well, and benefit us as well as benefit the community and our students. So I just want you to know that conversation is starting to take place. Literally went to 3 meetings last week, and that was about the first I knew of it. So that's how fresh it is. So not holding anything back, just want you to know that this is starting to be conversation. Next, I wanted to talk about some of the bills that are being introduced. I provided the most recent handout. They're always changing, so I'm not sure that the bills that I'm talking about tonight are still numbered or named in the way that they come out. But I think the first one to talk about, I wrote some notes on the side. Sorry that I shared my note writing with you on this, but that was the copy that I had when I put the document together. I do wonder where this commitment for the mystery company, where this is all going, because I think it sounds like a great economical boost for the state of Kansas. However, it's a lot of money. And anytime you commit a lot of money, what are you committing to not being able to fund on the other side of committing a lot of money? And my understanding is whoever this company is most likely will be in the Kansas City area, right? So who knows what the advantage is. So we have to pay attention to what's going on beyond just the education bills. That's my implication here. We have to look at how that will have an impact on the entire state. Because one thing I've made notice of on several of these, there's a lot of talk about correcting the capers situation. Because for years, the legislature used the capers as their piggy bank. When they didn't have enough money to fund all of the legislative commitments they'd made, they took it out of the capers fund by not funding it at the full commitment and not meeting all of the needs there. So now they're trying to make some of that up because we have had such a surplus recently. So moving on, the cost of living adjustment would be interesting. I don't know if they'll ever make that commitment because this year, as you heard, that cost of living has gone up. And to try to match that every year is a commitment that I'm interested in knowing if they'd be willing to make. House Bill 2561 puts $1 billion from the state operating budget into the public employees' retirement. That's a dream. Because we're that far behind, and that would get us caught up in guaranteeing the longevity of that program. It's a great idea, but you don't hear much about it, but I wanted to point that out. House Bill 2553 is allowing K through 12 students to transfer to attend any school district in the state. The school board would be able to set a policy on capacity. And beyond that, students must be accepted in the order of the date of their application. The board may deny students based on absenteeism and repeated suspensions, but nothing else. And it does say as for other undefined reasons, but I think they're going to be specific about that. If a transfer request is denied, parents can appeal. They go through a whole process. But this is like, it's being called the public education portal. Just it allows parents to transfer their kids to any school they want at any time. Now, what's interesting about this is Keisha hasn't said how they would handle this, because they've always had a transfer rule that if you transfer to another school, you have to sit out 18 weeks and whatever the time period is on that now. So I just find that interesting. It's amazing how many bills have all of a sudden popped up. And some of these have negative effects on a lot of situations, I believe. The 2551 is interesting because it wants to prohibit the State Department from enforcing remote learning limitations, which is ironic because it's based on a bill that they passed the year before to not allow remote learning to take place. So maybe they found out that it isn't in the best interest. So who knows where that will end up. Senate Bill 432, many states have this, Kansas doesn't, but a sales tax holiday for back-to-school supplies. Select a day or a couple of days where certain supplies are not subject to sales tax to help parents out during that time. Senate Bill 431 changes the valuation exempt from $20,000 as it currently is to $100,000. The 20 mills that is required for every property owner across the state would exempt the first 100,000 of your valuation of your home.
Wouldn't that hurt western Kansas more than eastern Kansas? No.
I haven't heard that it would hurt western Kansas more than eastern Kansas, but what the bottom line, there is a impact, economical impact that it would be less money, and so the funds would have to come from some other location. I think the spirit of the idea is that it wouldn't come from property tax, that amount of money would not come from property tax itself. So I don't know what the economical impact of that would be. Haven't heard that information, but it is a novel idea to give it.
Truthfully, Kansas is a terrible state to retire in.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
There is no question.
You're taxed.
We have no tourism. We have no professional sports teams. We have very few economic engines other than the taxation.
Bottom 12. There's only 12 that tax it by the state, but in other states, if you retired, they give you property tax relief also. So.
The last one on that page, Senate Bill 425, is a sad state of affairs for where the communication is between all the entities in the state. As we try so many times, we try to work with a family in a situation, and come to find out now they're even making legislation about this so that the Department of Children and Families will talk to different law enforcement agencies. And my first reaction is, what? Don't they talk already? I mean, we have to talk. And so many times there are certain things that can't be told. There's certain things that do go on. And now they're talking about that kind of legislation. So definitely something to follow. More on capers, following there, trying to keep this interesting here. And 393, the bottom of the page. It may not be a big deal, but it sounds like a big deal at first, and there is an impact that I think would be a big deal. Requiring school districts to annually publish on the internet a list of learning materials and activities used for student instruction at each school of the school district, and providing a penalty for violations. So basically what it's saying is by July 1, you're supposed to publish everything that you're going to use to teach instruction for that year. And one of the arguments of that is that's really not how good instruction works, because you have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to adapt to changes that may take place. We have a set curriculum. We're not afraid of telling everybody what we are teaching. It just seems kind of massive to think that you have to tell that in July. And there is no assurance that it's going to work that way. I mean, I could think of a number of scenarios, whether it be Dirksen actually does call off school 5 days in a row, and it shortens the school year, and, you know, we decide to combine some things, et cetera. I mean, there are all kinds of scenarios about that. So, and the other one, Open Records Acts, that's becoming a more common event across the state. A lot of people are asking for more information. They have a right to that information. This bill would change the Open Records Act and in a more friendly way, I think, to the consumer. It would specify staff time, except for staff time in determining if the records exist, may be charged to the requester, but only at the lowest rate of a person that is capable of getting those records. I think some schools have been setting a high fee for records, and we very rarely even requested a fee. Am I not correct on that? From the Public Information Office, we very seldom request a fee. Sometimes we've had large requests and we've had to have them pay for some supplies and that sort of thing. Yeah. That's very reasonable. And I think there are other school districts that aren't as public friendly as we are, and that's why this law was even put out there. So we'll continue so until that changes. So anyway, I want you to know I've been in close contact with our representatives and especially with Brad Ralph, and they're keeping an eye on these bills and definitely have our back as far as public education goes. However, we can't control what does finally get selected, et cetera. So all I can do is continue to report to you what is going on. So I do have a couple more items to finish up the roundup. You heard from the student council report of the success that our girls had. Not only are we the first ever female wrestling Hvac champions, but we also, according to Sports in Kansas, pulled an upset because we weren't ranked #1 in the regional, and we came away with the regional championship. 10 of our 11 wrestlers did qualify for the state tournament, so that puts us in very good standing for that. And our coach was recognized as the regional coach of the year, so that's quite an honor. Swimming and bowling are both doing well, and both basketball teams have had what can be defined nothing less than a very successful season. I reported to you in Week in Review, but we did have a very successful administrator retreat last Friday. Easy to define success when you provide a breakfast buffet, but we did provide good information too, and it was worth their time. And I lose my parking spot for 3 days the end of this week because we are setting up for the citywide circus in the Civic Center, which is going to be unique. Second full year in the facility. If I remember right, we did not have the circus last year because of COVID. So we have yet to enjoy the compatibility of the smell of zoo and farm animals lined up with the district office, which I do believe will be an incident before it's all over. Because you can't pack those animals in here for a long time and not have to deal with it at some level. So mitigation will be in place, and we'll try to deal with it because I've seen in the past how much the circus is enjoyed, and so we're glad to be a part of that still. So I believe that's all that I had to report at this time. Is there any questions that I can answer on the roundup?
Also, the play this weekend was wonderful.
Yes.
Bye Bye Birdie. Kids did a marvelous job.
Yep.
They were outstanding.
I did have that. I forgot. I counted over 50 students on the casting list.
Oh,
it was the number of people that were involved and the production. It was a great musical. It really was. So, enjoyed that. I did not hear a word she said.
10
Can somebody
students.
translate that one?
10 students going to state through the music department.
Yeah, 10. That's awesome.
That's all. But the play, there was some unbelievably talented young people in that play.
And they enjoy themselves. That's what I noticed, is a lot of them are really enjoying themselves, so that's what it's all about, so, yep. Okay, that concludes the Superintendent Roundup.
We are ready for Board of Education member district responsibilities. Jared, do you have anything on the Park and Rec Board? Okay. Bright Beginnings, Head Start, Jamie?
AC emailed me last night and told me, he emailed me last night and said on the litigation for the masking in the court, there was still a stay, so there's really no update there. Parent-teacher conferences they had last week, and they had over 95% participation for parent-teacher conferences, was awesome. Our Focus Area 1 monitoring meeting will be the week of March 28th through April 1st. This is an intensive phone Zoom review with Head Start monitors to ensure we are in compliance across all programs. They're working very hard to prepare for this. Teachers are also finishing collecting student progress monitoring data from students for the winter data window, and will introduce the results to staff in our policy council soon. Recruitment and application interviews for next school year have already begun, and Dr. Dirksen already covered the childcare, some possible news that way. So then we have a meeting tomorrow.
Special education?
Yeah, the two areas, one is budgets. We have to see what the legislature is going to do with special ed budgeting, and we're kind of holding our breath and planning. Also, very encouraged by the data that we're receiving. Young people are making progress, and the data has been very good so far in this year, and we're very encouraged by that. And but those are the two things that we're concerned and excited about.
Very good. Dr. Dirksen has already covered the legislative capital outlay. We voted on the HVAC. Is there anything else on that? That's it. Okay. And nothing on the calendar committee. Jamie, we've got you down to review bills for the March meeting. Announcements, we've got February 25th will be the annual Dodge City Area Chamber of Commerce banquet out at the Boot Hill Casino and Resort Conference Center from 6 to 9. If you would like to attend, you need to let Karen know by tomorrow. February 28th will be our second Board of Education meeting. It'll be a luncheon meeting out at the high school at noon. March 1st is Dodge City Night in Topeka. The deadline to RSVP for that has been extended to Friday the 18th. If you are planning to attend, you need to let Deb know by Friday. March 21st, Board of Education meeting. That's not, is that correct?
It is correct, because of spring break.
Gotcha. 21st Board of Education meeting, district office boardroom at 6 o'clock, and there's not a second board meeting in March. Anybody have anything for future board meetings or additional information for the good of the whole? No? Okay, we need an executive session for discussion of personnel matters. We need Dr. Dirksen,
And
Clayton Curbs.
And
How long?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay.
Okay. I make a motion for executive session for 15 minutes for personnel matter.
Is that Jamie? Okay. We have a motion by Tammy and a second by Jamie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 6-0. Thank you, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day.